Okay, we're back. Let's get her started up. And as soon as we get the get some blossom on there, we'll get going. Here we go. Now we have 2 cups of water at 61 degrees in the pot. And we'll see how we'll go here. We already started the timer. So what I'm going to do is, as we watch this go, I think what I'll do is I'll tell you my experiences I've had with this in the last day or so here. Let me turn out the light here and see if we can see the flame a little bit better. See what that looks like. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, you can see it on the screen also. It looks good. So after I made this, I tried the conventional way of actually lighting this, where you light the center part and try to get a bloom going. That never did work. Tried that 3 or 4 times, maybe 3 times. Never did work, never got a blossom out of it. So then I thought, well, okay, so what I'll do is I'll try to get it heated up a little bit and put the pot on. Well, I had mixed results with that. Putting the pot on after you had a flame going on the inside and got the stove heated up. It worked one time and it wouldn't work the other time. So then I decided I had a piece of carbon felt underneath it. I would put carbon felt underneath it and prime it with the carbon felt. Oh my goodness, that was a lot of fun. I had like a torch going at least twice on there. I had flames coming all the way up to the top of the pan, up top the pot there, and it was just ugly. So finally I said, well, I'll put this primer underneath it and I'll put the pot on and I'll prime it that way, and lo and behold, it worked out very, very nicely after that. So it seems like if you use a carbon felt, it doesn't burn off the alcohol as quickly as just having it on like a piece of tin foil or on some type of metal plate or something. It just seems to work a lot better this way than it does using a carbon felt as the primer itself. Now maybe if you want to put it underneath the plate or something like that to dissipate any kind of heat transfer from the whatever it's sitting on, I guess maybe that might be useful, but it just didn't work for me. So I'm going to stay out with it here. Hopefully that we're going to get a boil here pretty quickly. Stay with this, and I'm not going to break off on it. And I want to tell you something, a little bit of experience. I was supposed to go camping. I think I told you on one of my last videos we were supposed to go the weekend before Thanksgiving. That didn't work out real well because we were going to leave on Friday, and I think it was on Wednesday night my daughter called me and told me that her boyfriend, who actually works with a dog rescue, Italian Greyhound dog rescue, he has 3 of his own Italian Greyhounds. Little dogs, or small little dogs, probably about maybe 15, 20-pound dogs. One of them is 11 years old. His name is Apollo. And they knew that he had one eye that he was having troubles with, but then Wednesday night the dog started to bump into furniture and had difficulty walking, and so they thought he couldn't see. So I was going to put it off that night, but then she said, well, let's wait until tomorrow on Thursday and see how it goes. And he wasn't any better. And then finally, Friday morning, we were supposed to go Friday afternoon, he took the dog to the vet and found out that the dog was blind in both eyes and had detached retina. And it would cost $5,000 to possibly have the dog operated on and corrected, but with no guarantee that it wouldn't come back. So I decided to pull the plug on the camping trip and told them to go home and try to make the house adjustable for the dog. Since we live here in the desert, you can already hear it starting to move temperature or sound-wise as far as the pot is going. Go home and make any adjustments to the yard. They had several cactus that were close to where the dog went through the doggy door. They had to take those out, so that was something they wanted to do over that weekend. Just try to make the house a little more functional for the dog. And They're real dog lovers as well as I am too. I have 2 dogs of my own here. I have 2 Labradors, Labrador Retrievers, a yellow and a chocolate. So I understand, going away from home and leaving them with somebody who may be a stranger or something like that when the dog has a lot of problems. So I was, very happy to put the camping trip off for a while. The other thing I want to say to you is that here in Arizona, you may not realize it, but we have a lot of forest area up north and some down south here. The desert here is the desert, and you can hear, hopefully you can hear that it's already starting to do the boil process. We've had this past year, we've had 2 major fires. They found both of the sources, and they were humans. One that was probably the worst one, which was several 100,000 acres. They tried the 2 fellows that were campers. They're supposed to be experienced campers who neglected to put their fire out from their campfire. And the ashes or whatever was blowing that day, and it started a humongous fire. They were just recently in the last week convicted, and I think you can hear that we're pretty darn close to a rolling boil already. They were both convicted, and one actually has to pay $500 every month. You can see it's actually going quite well. Let's turn this off, the timer off. And I'm just going to let it go. It was about 6 minutes, just a little over 6 minutes, 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Finish my story while we watch this. Let's go ahead and turn this back on and see how much longer it goes. Finish my story. He has to pay $500 a month for the rest of his life. The other guy has to pay $250 every month until 2016. Then he has to pay also $500 a month. It just goes to, good practice when you're out there either backpacking or camping to make sure you put your campfires out and, make sure that everything is safe before you leave. We had another fire up here also. It was started by somebody who was actually shooting a shotgun, which had, I'm not sure what kind of shells they were, but apparently they shot out fire. I don't know what you call those kind. I have a shotgun myself, but I've never heard of that kind of ammunition. But he was out there just firing his shotgun and into the woods somehow, and that started the fire. And that person is going to jail for, I think it's 2 years, 2.5 years, somewhere in that area. So anyway, it just goes to the safety and, when you're camping and when you're out there with firearms or anything else. So I'm not probably telling anybody who listens to these videos anything they don't already know. But I just thought I'd let you know that and maybe pass it on, somewhere, let you know that it's really interesting that they can actually trace back where those fires started, and we're actually able to find these guys who did it. There must have been somebody who knew these guys or something. I don't know how they actually caught them. But anyway, that's my story, and so far that 1 ounce of fuel, we're well over 8 minutes and 23, almost 30 seconds now. I probably could have done it with less fuel, maybe 3/4 ounce. I tried it with a 1/2 ounce this morning. The temperature of the water this morning was 57 degrees, and it got to just before the rolling boil, and it quit on me, so I decided to go ahead and just put a full 1 ounce into the stove and let it go at that. And so anyway, let me stop this. It's probably going to run for another minute or 2 before it dies out. The fact that it's rocking on there is something I want to talk about, maybe in just kind of like a follow-up on this. So I'm going to be back in just a few minutes, and I'll follow this up again with something. Thank you. Be back in a minute.